Winter Park is known for its charm, history, and vibrant community. Above and below the picturesque streets is the evidence of a decision made decades ago, one that continues to change the city and its future.
To see the impact that one decision made way back then, that decision is going to be in textbooks.
Since the 1920s, Winter Park's electric utility was contracted out to Progress Energy and its predecessors. But city manager Randy Knight says the investor-owned utility had a bad reputation among residents.
It was legendary how bad the reliability was in Winter Park.
The power went out often.
We did have more outages back in those days. We did.
The frustration level was very, very high.
Every time Progress Energy came into the city to trim the trees to improve reliability, our residents would be upset with the way they trimmed the trees. They would do these big V-cuts in the trees, and people hated that. And so they would do smaller trims, and hence reliability problems.
Franchise agreements between Progress and Winter Park always gave the city a buyout option. But when the contract was up for renewal in 2001,
they were changing the way they were doing the franchises. They were taking out that right to purchase. So our city commission looked at that, and one of the commissioners in particular, Commissioner John Eckbert, said, well, if we are signing a franchise without a right to purchase, it's not a 30-year franchise, it's a permanent franchise. And so the commission began the discussion of, should we sign a franchise or should we exercise our right to purchase?
So we had a use it or lose it opportunity. It seemed like there was everything to be gained and nothing to be lost.
Not all commissioners felt that way, and the vote to move forward with a feasibility study to buy the utility was on the line.
It was a deadlocked vote, 2-2, 2 in favor of the contract renewal, 2 in favor of exercising the buyout clause.
And the mayor at the time worked for Florida Power Corp., so he had a conflict of interest and wasn't allowed to vote. So one of our commissioners, Commissioner Barbara Devane, asked the utility if they would put in writing that they would guarantee an improvement in reliability. And they basically said, we can't do that. And so once they refused to put it in writing, she switched her vote towards the study.
And the math was profound.
Jerry Warren conducted the study.
The rate of return to make this investment is amazing. It was a sound business decision, and we confirmed that. You had some visionary city commissioners back then that were courageous, and they made the decision to move forward.
Moving forward meant lots of litigation as Progress in the city battled the potential buyout in court.
We won at every stage, and the Supreme Court affirmed our right to buy out the electric utility.
Those wins were costly and more than doubled the buyout price.
And so what could have been a $20 million purchase ended up being a $42 million purchase. And so we had to overcome that hurdle of it was way more than we thought it was going to be. So we did another feasibility study, and that one said, even at $42 million, this works.
In May 2003, the commission decided to put the issue to a vote with a $49 million referendum. But before that happened,
we had the battle for the hearts and minds of the citizens of Winter Park.
The city manager at the time was Jim Williams, and he knew somebody was going to be buried in this for a long time. And I was kind of put in charge of running the campaign from a staff standpoint. I felt the stress of knowing that if we failed, I failed.
The city knew it was in for a tough fight with Progress, as the company tried to convince voters a government-controlled utility was a bad idea.
The opposition was, I'll say, vicious.
And they flat out told us they would outspend us. And that's one prediction they made that was absolutely correct. They spent $573,750 on the campaign. They created a political action committee called the Winter Park Taxpayers Against Government-Owned Electric. There was a PAC in favor of buying the utility that raised $50,000. So they outspent us over 10-1.
Buying ads and TV, radio, and print, it was horrible. Fear-mongering. What's their strategy to try to get the voters of Winter Park to reject the referendum? Number one, your rates are going to go up. Number two, your reliability is going to go down. And what in the heck are you going to do after a hurricane? You know, you're going to be up the creek.
They use the phrase here a lot, we're going to have 5 guys in a pickup truck trying to restore power. And it was effective. You know, a lot of people bought into that argument.
Yeah, I thought it was a bad idea, and I've actually voted against it.
Progress's strong campaign was a concern, but during debates and forums, Winter Park pledged to bury power lines and bring in an outside company to help run the utility. Meanwhile, the PAC sent out information it hoped would win over residents who were fed up with outages.
One of the most effective campaign flyers the city put out was the blinking clock, with the clock blinking on 12.
After an intense 4 months of campaigning, the September 9th election had arrived, and each side anxiously awaited the results.
And I would tell you, right up until the last day, I had no idea which way it was going to go.
When all the votes were tallied, it was a landslide victory for the city.
The citizens 69-31 says kick the yahoos out. It was exciting news. We were stunned and pleased when it came back. In today's political world, that's a mandate.
2 years after the vote, Winter Park finalized the purchase from Progress, and on June 1st, 2005, Winter Park Electric was born with a flip of the switch.
This is the most thrilling thing I think we've ever accomplished.
Winter Park didn't stop at ownership. It made burying the power lines a priority. Electric Utility Director Jamie England is impressed with his team's work on the project.
I look across the country and I don't know anywhere where undergrounding efforts is at the scale that it is here. It is enormous here. So by 2030, we should be fully invested in our strategy. We'll have all our undergrounding system in place, primary and secondary.
To underground is so important for our safety. Undergrounding keeps you from losing power during storms.
Mayor Sheila DeCiccio says the city's buying power is saving residents money.
The residents of Winter Park, we're the stakeholders. By owning the utility, we get to set the rates. We are over 38% lower than Duke Energy. For the state, on an average, we're over 9% lower.
So right down there, they dug a trench.
Winter Park resident Ray Renfro has done a 180 since voting no on the referendum.
I since have changed my mind 100%. Oh, I am thrilled. I'm not kidding you.
He recently got his lines buried.
Underground utilities are just fantastic. Before Winter Park took over, I've had three episodes of hurricanes coming through here where we were out of electricity about a week each. We're feeling really good going into this hurricane season this year. It's better than we have in years.
Having her lines underground also gives Winter Park's Carolyn Fennell peace of mind.
Having the service underground, there's less, one, fear that you'll be impacted, and two, if you are, that it'll be more readily gotten to through the innovative systems that are in place. And so there is some assurance or some comfort.
Local real estate developer Morgan Bellows believes undergrounding is good for current and prospective Winter Park businesses.
Living and working here, that obviously plays a role just in our daily lives as well as our work. That is definitely enticing for projects and people coming in and can accelerate certain projects or to greatly aid in how we approach them.
If you're a business and you want to move to a place, you're going to want to find that utility that has lower rates, better reliability, and will respond to your needs.
Jerry Warren became Winter Park's electric director in 2007 and says the city has proven Progress's 2003 campaign claims were wrong.
They said your rates are going to go up. They didn't. They say your reliability is going to go down. It didn't. You're not going to be able to recover after a hurricane. We were. And so check, check, check. I would say that it's been a roaring success. Since 2013 or so, when we started in a big way the undergrounding project, we've spent about $65 million out of revenues. So if you saved $70 million in rates and you've spent $65 million on undergrounding, and at the same time you improve reliability and improve storm recovery, the citizens of Winter Park are $135 million better off for taking over the utility.
This is the biggest wind we've seen. This is hurricane force wind, and this is the kind of wind that can knock out power.
We've just seen a spike in the number of power outages. The number is growing.
With the majority of Winter Park's lines already underground, The system faced its first real test during Hurricane Milton in 2024.
We were impacted as much as anyone else weather-wise. Our system held up better than others, and we were very pleased with the results. There was tens of thousands of customers outside of our electric utility that were experiencing outages for several days. I think some were up to a week. We had 278 accounts that were without power. All customers were restored within 12 hours.
We were able to have the Autumn Art Festival 2 days later when all the surrounding communities still did not have power. We were able to release our emergency crews to other areas that needed it bad, and that is a direct result of the undergrounding.
As the project continues, England says to realize the progress being made underground, just look up.
When you drive around our neighborhoods, we are a treed canopy. It is beautiful. So in order to maintain that, we have to take a different method of construction. That's undergrounding. You're enhancing the charm, you're enhancing the beautification of the city, but you're also introducing uniqueness. And when you can introduce uniqueness, you increase value.
Looking forward to the next 20 years, the city is exploring a variety of ways to make the electric utility more valuable to Winter Park residents.
We've got our hands on a lot of things right now, but I would say the most impactful change will be the introduction of an outage management system. With this new system, we will have an idea before we get on site as far as what we're looking at. Is it a fuse level outage? Is it a station level outage? And what the customer count is. We will be able to respond more effectively, more efficiently. We'll also have outage mapping, which a customer or a resident will be able to look at an outage map and see where they fall within the city and whether or not they're involved in a set outage. So there's a lot of technology that's encompassing this. AI will be introduced, so that's the exciting portion of this as well. So we're really looking forward to that.
The future's bright for Winter Park Electric, but none of it would have been possible without the hard work of past and present city leaders.
Looking back on it, it seems absolutely the right thing to have done.
No regrets at all.
I'm truly proud to have been a part of it, and I say congratulations to a very brave city for taking a bold action.
I have a lot of pride in what the city accomplished.
Winter Park Electric stands as a model of what local utility control can achieve. In this city, power truly does belong to the people.
I want to see us finish the undergrounding. I want to be there the day we pull out that last pole and say we're officially 100% undergrounded. I may have to come back from retirement to do that, but I'm going to be here.